Tierra Whack Worldwide Whack album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning. Here tonight to chat about this technically debut album of Miss Tierra Whack, an MC out of Philly that I've wanted to chat about for some time now. She started turning heads a couple of years ago with her mixtape or, whatever. Watch that. She started turning heads a few years ago with her mixtape, her Whack World mixtape, and this thing really did catch me off guard because, this was just nothing short of a wildly creative, animated, bubbly rap album that was really poetic, really just had a lot of character, and was just really interesting at the end of the day. And this thing was 15 tracks, 15 minutes. You know the drill. They were all a minute long. You can kind of figure that out. But what surprised me the most was just how well her ideas came off. None of these tracks ever seemed incomplete or anything like that. As a matter of fact, they sounded perfect the way they are. Now, the last time we heard from her was in 2021, where she dropped her rap, pop, and R&B EPs, which were okay for the most part, and just showed her flexing different muscles and trying new things. I thought the rap EP was actually really good. I thought the pop EP was a little ugly, and the R&B EP was something I wanted to hear a little bit more of. Now, leading up to this album, I was very curious. This is technically her debut album, but I gotta tell you, I was not that excited about this thing once I heard the singles. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I feel like she's better than this album, honestly, and a lot of this thing, I just don't get the hype. Mood Swing is a really, really lackluster intro. I mean, it's a breezy personal ballad that actually has some pretty telling lyrics, but the vocal work, what happened here? This is far from where I wanted to hear this project start. Chanel Pitt, that shows up a few tracks later, I really wanted to dive headfirst into this because Tierra's vocal performance on this track is truly pretty eclectic. I thought that was really cool. But, God, this tossed together, really phoned in beat just does not even come close to matching Tierra's personality. And while vocally, I think that she does put this track a little bit on the right side of things, lyrically, this is a major drop-off. Accessible, once again, it's just really middle of the road. I mean, I hear a track like this, and I couldn't tell you that this is a Tierra Whack anything. This track sounds like a who's who of an R&B songstress right now trying her best SZA impression out. And the end result is just really average and pretty faceless. Her singing is fine, but nothing about this track really pops, nor does X. I mean, she's certainly trying on this track. I mean, this is easily her most energetic, urgent, and just amped up performance yet. This beat just kind of sounds like a Kanye knockoff, though, for some reason. I'm sorry. This is just another okay track. Nothing about this pops out at me. Nothing about this grips me. I mean, there are some moments of brilliance. Take, for example, Misbehave. I think this is one of the more interesting cuts here, especially because this instrumental is so unique. This is a freaky banger with this really off-tempo beat that just kind of slithers along. It's got this dangerous sound to it. And Tierra, who is definitely in her more hip-hop mind frame on this track, actually sounds really confident. Her personality and charisma really shine here. It's hypnotic, honestly, and really memorable, and the kind of stuff that really led me to enjoy Tierra's music to begin with. Numb is one of the oddest tracks here, and at first I didn't really like it, but there is something very, accessible about this track. Like the dreamy, formless beat and Tierra's bizarre, far-out performance on this track mesh really well. It ends up being simply intoxicating. I also like Burning Brains. In a weird way, this track reminds me of some early James Blake. It's moody, it's gloomy, I love the piano beat, and Tierra's singing on this track really works. I mean, it's a bizarre performance from her, but it does work. Imaginary Friends easily is the track of the album. This beat, in general, is actually one of the most really memorable beats in hip-hop I've heard all year. It's a moody, groovy, hazy, surreal track, and Tierra's performance knocks it out of the park. She really lets loose here, and it pays off. And I'm really impressed with Moovies as well. This is a really smooth, steamy jam that is really well performed. From a singing stance, easily some of Tierra's best work, and the rap verse that we get here is super confident. And on top of that, Tierra is an artist that touches down on a lot of different sounds, but this track here, this Moovies track, honestly, it's like the medium. It's literally just the perfect blend of all three sounds for her. I just wish that this album was more consistent because things get ugly in the final third. Difficult is, to put it bluntly, pretty difficult. I mean, lyrically, this has been pretty solid up to this point, but stylistically, I feel like this comes off more like muddled than really creative or colorful. Her mumbled vocals on this track also take away more than they add. Also, sorry, really not a fan of Shower Song either. I mean, lyrically, it's very cute and bubbly. Quirky too. It's a lot of fun, but this beat is one of my least favorite of the bunch, and Tierra's singing on this track just does not stick with me. I do like Invitation though. I do really love just how bubbly and quirky she comes off on this verse. It's some of the most genuine fun on this album, even if it is a little straightforward. And Snake Eyes, I don't know where the hell this track came from, but I'm sure glad it's here. This is a pretty intense track. It's graceful, it's dramatic, but it's also really intensely dark. But it plays to Tierra's strength, and it's a really gritty and raw tune. But Tonight late in the album just puts me in such a bad mood. And listen, I could take a quirky, eclectic hip-hop record, but this, I'm just lost. This beat is clumsy, and Tierra just sounds like she's trying too hard. I just wish this actually had a little more structure. Her singing is just lopsided. There's more and more awkward moments. Honestly, I think it's the worst track here. However, I will say this, 27 Club as a finale, this was the single that really grew on me the most. I do actually really like this track. The Twilight instrumental is very sweet. It really does go very nicely with her very sugary, very pleasant performance. The whole R&B direction of this track is really tasteful. I wish we heard a little bit more of it, and I wish this album was a lot more consistent. I like eclectic, quirky, genre-shifting hip-hop albums as much as the next dude, but this was a little too much for me. A lot of the singing, a lot of the ideas just do not come into fruition, and there's a lot of this album that doesn't come off as colorful or creative as I wish, just comes off as muddled. I'm kind of feeling a light 5 on this album, but let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.